Chapter 8. So, where are we, punksters? We've had the mysterious notes from the Orange Eyebrow, and the Orange Nutter made his first appearance, surprising all of those who thought it was just some sort of joke. And I was making a pitiful attempt to build up the tension over the question of will he or won't he tell Venus, which really means that we're still in the getting round to it phase of our relationship. And we're nearly 8 chapters in. Pretty good going as foreplay goes. And I'm going to keep you waiting just a little bit longer as we detour on our way back to the Palais de Festivals to visit the Swapster stand, or more accurately, the internet cafe they set up in a bar directly opposite. A brilliant idea, way cheaper than paying MIDEM's exorbitant fees, and the coolest slot on the block. Now, the vicar wants more technical info in this blog about internet sites like GooTube, eBay, MySpace and Swapster, but I think that we should tell the great Victator to keep his fucking editorial decisions to himself. No, joking. No. Swapster is a way of swapping music from one computer to another, hence the name. Duh. I think that's enough.
It is called theft, old hat,
was Lord Crappenley's judgment on their software.
I see no reason why anybody should get my legendary musications for free. Music has never been free. How is a musician to pay the roof maintaining rent?
One point of view, said the vicar, although it shows scant regard for the facts. It is only recently, my dear boy, that people have begun to regard music as personal property. That notion did not start until the late 1800s. It was reinforced by the Copyright Act, which, as Punk can tell us, was in...
He must have known that I didn't know the date.
Oh, come on, Punk. These things you should know. The Copyright Act was in 1911, September the 15th to be precise. But, he went on, when Handel was paid to write a piece of music for next Sunday, he did not expect performance fees every time it was performed. Why should a musician continue to get paid for something they did 30 years ago?
Perhaps because people are still buying it?
Cut in Venus. I am most certainly in favour of a musician getting their fair share of any money that is paid, continued the vicar, hence my strong stance on bootlegging and piracy. But, in its purest form, music is free and belongs to everybody. An interesting dichotomy.
Well, I think your system is great, said Venus, standing up and handing the headphones back to one of the Swapster staff. I stopped buying CDs long ago, and the sooner I can get movies this way, the better.
Which is why I shall fight your company with the tooth that is long and the nail that is rusty,
said Lord Crappenley.
Where shall we three meet again? The criminal courts, the Old Bailey, or Capitol Hill?
And I am equally sure that it will all end in some wonderful compromise that serves the best interests of the major record labels, said the vicar to the shocked assistant. Be in no doubt, you poor deluded fool, that one of the companies that is currently trying to sue your wonderfully anarchic little setup will soon change their minds and decide to buy you. Enjoy your period of independence. It will not last long. Au revoir.
And you heard it here first, but the vicar was accurate as always. About 2 months later, BGM, big global monstrosity, bought Swapster while still suing them in court. Baffles my poor little mind. And so, back to the Palais de Festival and the glories of MIDEM. And the vicar had a few long since forgotten meetings in the afternoon. Blame my forgetfulness on the champagne that's served at most of the stands. Cheap bubbles may get up the vicar's nose, but they all taste good to me. Now, a quick guide to my top stands. 1, Sono Press, a CD manufacturer, very boring products, but all the better for those of us that do call in. Alcohol content, 7 out of 10. 2, Abbey Road Interactive. All right, so I've got the hots for Sam, who works there. Poor alcohol content, 2 out of 10. 3, The Emperor's Palace. One to impress. Pony Canyon, Japanese record label, have a room hidden on the top floor, protected by the Asian Dragon Woman. Inside, Confucius say, many mysteries unfold. Alcohol content, sake, 7 out of 10. 4, German music delegation. At 5 o'clock on the dot, the beer flows. Hoffenbrau taps magically appear out of the top of the reception area. 8 out of 10. Almost enough to make you like German music. Almost. I'll complete the list later. Right now, we must return to our bargain basement plot and the vicar's 5 p.m. meeting with Michael Bernstein of the Music Network, the one he mentioned in the morning to Luke Hutchins. It conflicted with the daily German beer fest, hence my slightly late Tanglefoot arrival. Another meeting of the old Friends Network. Not quite old school ties, although Michael Bernstein must have been the only person in MIDEM actually wearing one. He was very New York, very short, and very Jewish. Does that sound racist? It's not meant to be, but you have to be careful. Let it go.
Michael Bernstein,
the vicar said, rising from his chair.
May I introduce Punk Sanderson? I should apologise, I suppose. There is, of course, absolutely no excuse for him.
I shook Mr. Bernstein's hand.
I'm sure Mr. Sanderson is quite excellent at what he does,
he said finally.
What he does?
Cut in the vicar.
I have long given up any hope that Punk will be a useful member of society. If we manage to train him so that the net result of his labours are not overwhelmingly negative, that will, in itself, be a triumph.
The vicar was back to his old routine. Bernstein smiled at me.
Pleased to meet you, Punk. What is it that makes us put up with this pompous old fool? I allowed him to share my flat in New York while we were both young men and suffered nothing but abuse for the entire year.
He looked at the vicar.
And I'm sufficiently mad to remember that year with great affection. We should not confuse closet homosexuality with complete incompetence. You, Michael, fancied my bottom. Nothing wrong with that. It is a perfectly fine bottom. Punk, on the other hand, is a complete incompetent who fancies his paycheck. Nothing wrong with that either, I suppose. It certainly makes him behave himself. Shall we sit down? Bernstein said. A glass of champagne or still Earl Grey tea? Neither, I'm afraid, said the vicar. I have regrettably given up tea. Right now, I'm driven by a lack of caffeine and a desire to launch the Vicar Chronicles. So, tell me, Bernstein said, abruptly ending the polite preamble. The most exciting offer you will get all week, to be sure.
The vicar handed over the synopsis that I'd copied for him.
A TV series based on my life, complete with all manner of commercial spin-offs and online opportunities. Those pages laid out very clearly.
The vicar didn't watch Bernstein as he read. He sat there in one of his half-meditational moods. I, on the other hand, fixed him very firmly with the old pork pies, and it was clear that all was not well. He began becoming increasingly flustered and flicked several times from the front page to the second page as if checking that he was not imagining things. He looked up with a nervous smile on his face.
Is this not some form of practical joke, David?
He asked eventually.
Oh, Michael, my dear man, you are not going to tell me that you do not like the idea. Far from it. An excellent proposition. Exactly what a company like AOL Time Warner would have needed to make their mad merger work. Music, books, the internet, films, a single artistic vision. Good. There is nothing I abhor more than trying to persuade someone of limited intelligence to do the blindingly obvious and make money for themselves. The problem, Mr. Bernstein cut in, is that I've had this exact proposition with virtually identical wording presented to me already today.
He looked again at the piece of paper.
In fact, with the exception of the name of the main character, I would have said that the two propositions are absolutely identical, word for word.
That boy's not cool. He's got ears the size of deer face, vocals and a twisted face, with a voice that...
I pulled the keyboard towards me and began typing in possible passwords, all my favourites based on tits, arses and bosoms. Didn't seem likely choices for Mr. Bernstein. How'd you spell Yom Kippur? I asked. Has it not occurred to you, Mr. Dumbbell, that Smigala might just have something better to do than turn up on Margarita Island and go, hello camera, I'm going to unzip my flies so that you can blackmail me? This is what I should have said. What I might have said. What I didn't say.